My name is Lyra Valen. And the moment my dad smirked at me, everything I thought I knew about family fell apart. I had asked a simple question about the summer trip I spent $36,000 on. I believed this trip would finally bring our family back together after years of me helping everyone. But he didn't hesitate. He didn't blink. He just said it almost like it was funny even though it hurt a lot. We already went last week. Only for family. I froze. I heard his words over and over in my head long after the call ended. Only for family. It was like I had never been part of it. All the money I spent, the plans I made, the hope I had, all of it didn't matter. Someone made sure my name was not even on the trip. The trip I paid for became the trip they used to leave me out. I didn't argue. I didn't ask why. I just stayed quiet because sometimes quiet shows the truth faster than yelling ever could. And the truth was simple. I wasn't invited to the trip I paid for. And that meant something in my family had already been broken long before that call. 2 months later, when another request came, this time for rent, needing help again, the same pattern kept happening. Something inside me finally changed. The words my dad used to leave me out became the only words I had to give back. Only for family. I said it calmly, almost gently, even though what happened next was not gentle at all. Before I continue further, don't forget to subscribe and join the awesome community. Drop a comment below to tell me where you're watching from and what you think of the story. Long before that moment, my life in Austin already revolved around numbers. After my divorce, I moved into a small one-bedroom apartment on the east side of the city. I worked as a financial analyst at a medium-sized tech company, buried in spreadsheets and numbers. On paper it looked like a steady life. I had a regular paycheck, health insurance, and a desk with my name on it. But in real life my days were always the same. Office, gym, quick dinners, and falling asleep to whatever was on TV. My parents lived several hours away in a small town that had seen better days. My dad, Orrin Valen, used to work maintenance at a warehouse but got hurt and couldn't work full-time anymore. My mom, Celine Valen, worked small part-time jobs but never long enough to have stability. My younger brother, Corin Valen, went to different community college classes and talked about plans that never really happened. At first, helping them felt normal. When Dad's truck needed new brakes, I paid the repair shop. When the power company sent a shut-off notice, I covered it. When Corin fell behind on rent, I sent him money without thinking. I told myself this was what you did when you were the one who had a stable job. The requests never came all at once. They came slowly, like interest adding up on a bill. A little here, a little there. Always something urgent. Rent, car insurance, medical bills. Every time I got a message from home, my chest would tighten before I even opened it. To make sense of it, I did what I knew best. I opened a new spreadsheet on my computer called Family Support. I wrote down every transfer, every bill I paid, with dates and reasons in neat rows. When I saw the totals climb, I told myself that seeing the numbers meant I was in control. I made small adjustments so no one would notice. I skipped my weekly therapy sessions because I felt guilty spending money while Dad was choosing between groceries and gas. I brought leftovers to work instead of buying lunch so I would have enough for emergencies. The strangest part was how our conversations got smaller. Calls that used to include updates and stories became just quick questions about money. "How are you?" became a short pause before another request. Thank you messages became shorter, then disappeared. I told myself it was temporary. Once Corin finished school, once Dad got better, once Mom found steady work, things would even out. The numbers said one thing, but my heart said another. I chose the version that hurt less. Working in finance meant I spent my days analyzing risk for other people, spotting bad investments, and recommending exits before losses got too big. Yet when it came to my family, I ignored the warning signs and gave more. Stepping back felt like betrayal. After a while, a new thought formed. Small at first, then louder each time I looked at the growing total in my spreadsheet. Maybe the problem wasn't that I gave too much, but that all we ever talked about was what I could give. Late one night, with my laptop open and my bank app glowing on my phone, a different plan came to me. If money had become the only language we shared, maybe I could use it to bring us back together. That was when the idea of paying for a big trip came to mind. Not for fun, but as a last chance to fix everything that had quietly broken. As the days passed, I worked on the plan. I wanted something big enough to shake us out of the routine we had fallen into. Something that might remind everyone what it felt like to be a family. A trip came to mind immediately, not because I needed a vacation but because I hoped changing the setting might help us reset what had fallen apart. I approached it like I did my work, carefully step by step. I opened tabs for flights, hotels, and rental cars. I switched between options like I compared financial models. I made lists for beach towns, lake cabins, and mountain retreats. I wrote down notes about weather, travel time, and costs. When I looked at the list, one option stood out: a coastal trip with warm water, good restaurants, and a quiet beach. It felt safe and neutral. Once I chose it, everything moved fast. I booked flights first, picking times that didn't need early mornings. Then I reserved a big suite, a rental car, and tickets for activities that were relenting. The total quickly climbed, passing numbers I normally double-checked. But I kept going, telling myself this trip would be worth it, that it would bring something back to the family. When I pressed confirm, the total was $36,000, a number that would have scared me if it wasn't for family. After I booked everything, I sent the itinerary and confirmation numbers in a long message. A small part of me expected excitement or even a thank you. Instead, my phone vibrated once. A short reply from my dad. Got it. No questions, no comments about the effort or cost. Just those 2 words. I stared at the message, trying to find emotion in text that had none. I kept planning anyway. I printed the itinerary and put it in a folder. I pictured us walking on the beach, sitting at dinners without talking about bills or stressful jobs. I let myself imagine a happy family, even though I should have known better. As the trip date got closer, the silence from home grew heavier. No questions about packing or schedules. No mentions of what they wanted to do. I thought they trusted me to handle everything. I didn't think something else might have already been decided without me. On the morning of the trip, everything changed. I picked up my phone to check in about travel plans. I thought it would be a normal call, just confirming details. But what I heard had no place in my plan at all. My dad's voice was calm and certain when he said they had already gone the week before, like he was just telling me the weather. Only for family, he added, and the words hit me hard. I was not ready for it. I felt frozen, my hands gripping the phone as if holding tighter could somehow change what I heard. I wanted to ask questions, to understand, to scream, to cry, but the words got stuck. The silence after his voice was worse than anything he could have said. That phrase, only for family, repeated in my mind again and again. I couldn't shake it. It felt like a punch that went straight through my chest. My stomach churned, my throat tightened, and I felt tears start to form, but I swallowed them back. I didn't want to give them the satisfaction of seeing me hurt. Everything I had done, every late night, every extra shift, every skipped meal, every dollar I sent home felt meaningless. All the love, all the hope, all the planning, gone. And I realized something that was almost too painful to admit. This had been going on for a long time. The trip wasn't just a mistake. It was a symbol of how long my family had ignored me, how long I had been giving without really being seen or appreciated. For years I had kept a spreadsheet tracking every transfer, every payment, every act of help. I told myself I was in control, that seeing the numbers would make me feel safe. But the truth was, I wasn't in control at all. I had been measuring love in dollars, and all the while, love had been missing from the people I had counted on the most. I closed my eyes and let the silence settle around me. I wanted to scream, I wanted to cry, but I just sat there. Slowly something shifted inside me. Anger, disappointment, and a strange sense of clarity began to mix. I realized that if my family only knew how to ask for money and only valued what I could give, then maybe it was time to speak in the same language they used. Only for family, I whispered to myself. And I knew that it would be the last time I would quietly let myself be erased. The next time they asked for help, I didn't hesitate. I repeated the words calmly, gently, almost like a teacher explaining a lesson. Only for family. I saw the surprise in my father's voice, and for the first time in a long time, I felt a strange relief. I was finally setting a boundary, something I had never done before. It didn't feel easy or fun, but it felt right. I thought back to all the small things I had done for them. All the trips to pay bills, all the late nights helping Corin with rent, all the phone calls and messages I had sent to solve problems that weren't mine. I realized I had spent years pouring from an empty cup, thinking that love and care could be measured in dollars and spreadsheets. But love couldn't be bought and care couldn't be forced. And the moment my family excluded me from the trip I paid for, that truth became undeniable. After that morning, things began to change. Not suddenly, not completely, but slowly. I stopped tracking every cent I sent home. I stopped rearranging my life to respond to urgent messages. I started taking care of myself in ways I had long ignored. Attending therapy, eating properly, spending weekends with friends instead of stressing over bills I didn't owe. I realized that my family wasn't going to change overnight, but I could change how I let their choices affect me. And the trip that I had planned with so much hope and care, it became a lesson. A reminder that love doesn't come with a receipt. That family isn't measured in dollars or trips or gifts. Family is about being seen, being heard, being included. And sometimes, you have to protect yourself when that doesn't happen. I still think about that moment every day. My father's smirk, the words only for family, the way it all cut through me. But I also think about the strength I found in that silence. The moment I realized I could set boundaries, the moment I understood that giving endlessly without being valued was not love. It was something else entirely. For a moment I thought I might have heard him wrong. The idea that they would go on the trip without me felt too strange, almost like a dream that didn't make sense. It was so surprising that my brain tried to refuse it. How could something I had planned and paid for, something I had looked forward to, be changed without me even knowing? But as he kept talking in short, serious sentences, I realized I hadn't misunderstood. He wasn't joking. He wasn't correcting himself. He meant exactly what he said in the clearest and most deliberate way. When the call ended, I sat quietly for a moment, feeling this strange tightness in my chest, like a rope had been wrapped around it. Then I opened my email and went to the booking website. I typed in the confirmation numbers carefully, almost hoping I had made a mistake, almost hoping the screen would show my name along with theirs. But it didn't. My stomach sank as I saw the updated reservations. The names listed were theirs. Mine was gone. The dates had been changed. The trip I had imagined and prepared for had been edited to include only them. I had paid for it, but now it was as if I had never been invited. I read the new plan again and again until the words blurred together. Every line reminded me of how easily someone could take something away when trust was broken. Even things I had done with care and hope could be erased without a thought. I felt a mixture of sadness, disbelief, and quiet anger. It wasn't the money that hurt the most. It was realizing that all the hard work I had done, all the effort I had put into making things better, had not mattered at all. It was like everything I had done had been invisible, irrelevant, long before the trip had even started. Standing in my apartment with the trip details open on my screen, I felt a quiet, hard truth settle inside me. The situation had changed and there was no way to pretend otherwise. In the next few days I tried to go back to my normal life. I went to work, sat at my desk, answered emails, and followed my usual schedule. My body moved automatically like a robot, but my mind was busy trying to understand how someone could do something so sneaky and deliberate without any warning. I didn't want to think about finding out my trip had been taken from me. But the memory kept coming back at odd and unexpected moments, while I checked numbers at work, while waiting for food in the microwave, while brushing my teeth at night. The trip was behind them now, but it left a heavy feeling in my chest that I couldn't shake. I kept adjusting it, moving it around like a backpack that was too heavy, trying to make it more comfortable, but it never went away completely. I didn't tell anyone at work. I didn't trust myself to explain it without sounding cold, upset, or defensive. So I focused on the things I could control. Emails, spreadsheets, meetings where everyone spoke in numbers. At least numbers didn't change on their own. They couldn't surprise me like people could. But every afternoon when I came home, my apartment felt too quiet. It made it impossible to ignore the truth that had settled in. Something important between us had changed, and I was the only one who seemed to feel it. Finally, I looked at the family money workbook again. I hadn't opened it since planning the vacation. The total at the bottom of the page was much higher than I remembered. Every line told a story. Rent, repairs, fees, last-minute emergencies, little expenses that added up quietly over time. Looking at the numbers felt like looking at an agreement I had never signed, a role I had never chosen but that had been assigned to me anyway. I scrolled through each line, reading carefully, until the total felt less like a number and more like a mirror reflecting my life back at me. One night my phone buzzed. It was a message about rent, written in the same tone it always had been. There was no mention of the trip or my absence. No one seemed to notice that I hadn't gone. For the first time I understood. I wasn't a daughter being included or excluded. I was just a person to be used when they needed something. I felt a strange calm settle over me, surprising in its steadiness. I typed a brief reply and set the phone down. The quiet afterward felt almost structured, as if a line had finally been drawn, creating a boundary that had never existed before. I looked around my apartment. The mail was unopened. A glass of water sat half full on my desk. The air conditioner hummed softly in the background. Nothing had changed, yet everything felt different. A decision had reached me before I even made it. I opened my banking app and began canceling automatic payments. Car insurance, rent, monthly support, utilities. Each cancellation felt like closing a tab on a slow, cluttered browser. The confirmations appeared quietly on my screen, soft and final, requiring no explanation. Then I changed all my passwords, adding extra security that I should have set long ago. When the app asked me to confirm the changes, I felt a small weight lift from my chest. Even with these changes, the apartment still felt like it could be entered by anyone who felt entitled to be there. That thought stayed with me until the next morning. I searched for a locksmith in Austin and found a local man named Jordan Reed. He arrived with his toolkit and calm, professional manner. He installed a reinforced deadbolt on my door and added a small camera above it. He showed me how to use the app to watch the camera, save clips, and set alerts. When he left, the door made a solid click that I wasn't used to hearing. My apartment felt different. Not because the space had changed, but because I finally recognized it as mine. The lock, the camera, the passwords, the canceled payments, they didn't erase what had happened. But each step created distance from a pattern that had gone unquestioned for far too long. Standing by the window, I realized I wasn't waiting for an apology, an explanation, or even recognition. I wasn't waiting for anything at all. What would happen next would come on its own, but for the first time I felt ready to face it without looking away. A few quiet mornings passed. I went to work, answered emails, and sat through meetings as if nothing had changed. At home, I checked the camera occasionally, mostly out of habit. The feed always showed the same empty hallway. I thought that maybe they hadn't noticed the changes yet. I was wrong. One afternoon, while I was tidying the kitchen, my phone made a sharp notification sound that felt different from usual. I opened it and saw motion at my front door. The camera feed showed 4 people standing there. My father was closest to the camera, arms crossed with a kind of quiet authority he rarely used. My mother shifted uncomfortably, avoiding the camera. My brother stayed back, looking at his phone, restless and impatient. Next to them was a man in a suit holding a leather briefcase. Seeing all of them together made my chest tighten, not with fear but with recognition of something inevitable. I walked slowly to the door, not because I needed time to think, but because the moment itself felt paused, waiting for my next move. I opened it just enough to see them clearly while keeping a safe boundary in place. The man with the briefcase stepped forward and introduced himself politely. He explained that he represented my family and wanted to talk about my recent decisions. His words were smooth and practiced, but the meaning beneath them felt heavy. My father stayed silent, letting the lawyer speak. My mother looked down, avoiding eye contact. My brother avoided looking at me at all. The lawyer said that concerns had been raised about my sudden financial changes, about stopping support they thought I should continue. He framed it as an act of care, saying they wanted to protect everyone's interests, including mine. But the meaning was clear. They wanted to use the law to make me keep paying. I held the papers but didn't open them. The hallway was quiet except for the faint sound of someone's television somewhere far away. My father watched me, waiting for a reaction. My mother's expression shifted slightly. My brother looked bored and frustrated. Inside, my reaction wasn't anger. It was clear. I understood exactly how far they were willing to go when money was involved. I gave the papers back to the lawyer calmly. I didn't yell. I didn't explain all the years of support I had quietly given. I told him that if they wanted to take any legal action, it had to go through the proper channels. He paused, perhaps expecting me to negotiate. I stepped back and closed the door before he could try another approach. The click of the latch felt strong and final. I checked the camera again. They lingered outside for a few minutes, talking to each other, frustrated gestures sharp in the feed. Then they left one by one. The hallway returned to its quiet, empty state. Later, a letter arrived in my mailbox. It talked about potential legal action because I had stopped giving financial support. The language was formal, but the meaning was the same as the visit. It carried the same sense of entitlement. I placed the letter on my table and sat quietly, realizing that they had moved from expecting me to paying to threatening. The most surprising thing wasn't the threat itself. It was how predictable it felt. They had been moving toward this moment long before they ever stood at my door. Now their plan was unfolding exactly as they had designed it. The next morning I woke with a heaviness that no longer felt like shock. It felt like the start of something I couldn't ignore anymore. The letter sat folded once on the kitchen table. I wasn't confused. I wasn't surprised. But I knew I couldn't handle what came next alone. On my way to work I sent a message to my friend Talia Merrick. She was the only person who had ever managed to reach me, the only one who noticed changes even when I tried to hide them. We had met years ago while volunteering together, and she had remained one of the few constants in my life, someone who could see me clearly even when I tried not to be seen. That afternoon, Talia suggested that we meet at a small cafe near the office. I agreed quickly, feeling grateful for a quiet place where I could think. The streets were warm and calm as I walked to the cafe. I felt a little nervous but also relieved to have somewhere neutral to talk. As soon as I entered, I saw her sitting at a small table by the window. She smiled a little when she saw me and waved me over. The cafe smelled of coffee and baked bread, and there was a soft murmur of people talking and clinking cups. Sitting across from her, I began to explain everything. I told her about the visit, the documents, and the letter. I didn't try to make the story bigger than it was, and I didn't try to make her feel sorry for me. I just told the truth the way I would tell someone about numbers in a report. I explained everything slowly and carefully, making sure nothing was left out. Talia listened quietly. Her face became serious as I spoke, like she was trying to understand every single detail. When I finished, she didn't say comforting things or try to make me feel better. Instead, she reached into her bag, took out a business card and slid it across the table to me. "This is someone I trust," she said. "His name is Caius Draven. He is a lawyer who handles difficult family problems. He stays calm, doesn't make promises he cannot keep, and doesn't let people be pushed into corners." I looked at the card. His name was printed neatly and there was a small logo of his office. I felt a small sense of relief. That was all I needed to hear. I made an appointment to see him before leaving the cafe. The next day I walked into Caius's office. It was downtown in a simple building with clean lines, quiet halls, and a calm feeling. I felt nervous but also strangely ready. When Caius greeted me, he was polite, calm, and professional. His manner made me feel a small distance from the fear and confusion I had been carrying. We sat across from each other at a long wooden table and I told him everything. I explained the years I had helped my family with money and how recently they had tried to pressure me legally. I spoke slowly, clearly, and without emotion, just like I had practiced. Caius listened carefully. He took notes, short and precise, without showing judgment or surprise. When I finished, he leaned back slightly and folded his hands. "Your situation is not common, but it's not unusual either," he said. "Families sometimes try to make people feel like they have to give money, even when there is no real obligation. The claims might be weak, but if they are not handled carefully, they can become complicated." He explained exactly what we needed. First, he said we had to show proof of my steady income, proof that I was financially independent, and records of every transfer I had made to my family. He also said we needed any messages or communications showing my family trying to pressure me or expect money. I nodded, thinking about the files on my computer and the emails I had saved. Caius also asked me to make an appointment with my doctor. I needed a written note saying I was mentally healthy. He explained that it wasn't because anyone doubted me, but once accusations like this are mentioned, they have to be officially cleared. I agreed immediately, understanding the importance. Over the next several days, I worked carefully to gather everything Caius had asked for. I downloaded bank statements showing every transfer I had made to my family. I collected copies of my job history, pay stubs, and annual reviews. I took screenshots of messages where my family had framed requests as emergencies or demands, instead of polite conversations. The more I gathered, the clearer the pattern became. The doctor's appointment was quick and simple. She asked me some standard questions about my health, checked my medical history, and completed the form. She smiled warmly and wished me luck, and for some reason her kindness struck me deeply. It felt like someone truly believed in me without needing proof. By the end of the week, I brought all the documents to Caius's office. He reviewed everything carefully. He organized the papers into sections, making it clear which parts would go into the response for the court. He explained that the key wasn't proving what my family had done wrong. The key was showing what I did not have to do. The case would be strong because there was no contract, no promise, and no legal rule forcing me to continue giving money. Before I left, Caius told me the hearing date. He said that we had everything we needed. The next steps would simply be about presenting the truth clearly. I stepped out into the late afternoon light feeling a strange steadiness. Whatever had begun with a visit to my door was moving into a space where facts mattered more than feelings. For the first time in a long time I felt ready to speak and be heard. On the day of the hearing, Austin was wrapped in a soft gray light. I carried the folder Caius had helped me prepare and walked into the courthouse. The building was clean, structured, and serious, a place where facts mattered more than feelings. That suited me perfectly. Inside the courtroom, my family sat together at a long table. My father's posture was stiff. His jaw was set like he had prepared to be challenged. My mother seemed smaller than usual, her hands tightly clasped in her lap. My brother stared at the floor, his expression unreadable. Across the aisle, Caius adjusted his papers with calm precision, and I sat beside him quietly. The hearing began. The lawyer my family had hired went first. His voice was polished, confident, almost like he had rehearsed the words over and over. He spoke about my sudden withdrawal of financial support, my supposed erratic decisions, and my emotional instability after life changes. He tried to paint a picture of me as someone who had lost control and needed guidance, and that my family was trying to protect me. I listened without reacting. I didn't argue or feel defensive. I just let his words pass like leaves floating down a stream. When he finished, Caius stood. His voice was calm, measured, and free of drama. He explained my steady job history, my financial independence, my consistent work reviews, and the lack of any proof showing I was unstable. He showed the transfers I had made to my family were voluntary, not required. He explained that there was no written agreement, no spoken promise, nothing that legally forced me to continue giving money. Everything Caius said felt like fixing the story. It felt like putting the truth back where it belonged, like straightening a picture that had been hung crooked. Then it was my turn to speak. I stood up and noticed every sound in the courtroom, the quiet hum of the air system, the soft shuffle of someone moving in their seat. When the judge asked why I had stopped giving money, I spoke plainly. I said that at first the money was given as kindness and care. But over time my family began to take it for granted. The shift from thankfulness to expectation had been slow but clear. I didn't mention vacations, canceled plans, or small hurts. Those were private feelings that didn't need to be part of the court record. When I returned to my seat, I felt a quiet certainty. I wasn't victorious yet. I was just calm and clear. After reviewing all the documents, the judge made a short ruling. There was no reason for the petition. I had no legal or financial obligation to continue giving money. The claim was dismissed. The gavel came down with one solid sound and the tension in the room lifted. People began filing out and I didn't look at my family or expect any reaction. I walked into the hallway and breathed deeply, feeling the air lighter than before. Outside, the sky had brightened slowly, just enough to notice. In the weeks that followed, the distance between my family and me became permanent. Letters arrived reminding them of balances they now had to manage themselves. My brother finally took a job he had been avoiding. My parents moved into a smaller apartment. None of this gave me happiness. It was simply the natural result of no longer playing the role they had assigned me. I moved into a new apartment on the south side of Austin. The space had bigger windows and softer light. The quiet there felt different. It wasn't heavy, tense, or expectant. It was peaceful. I filled my evenings with long walks, trying new recipes and reading books I had set aside for years. Slowly, without forcing it, a life that belonged fully to me began to grow. Looking back, I realized the story wasn't really about the trip, the courtroom, or the money I had given. It was about the moment I finally understood something important. Setting boundaries is not rejecting someone. Boundaries are a way of recognizing what is healthy, what is fair, and what belongs to you. They are a way to protect yourself, not hurt others. I also learned that taking care of yourself doesn't make you selfish. It makes you strong. And if you've ever had to protect your own peace, you know it is both difficult and very necessary. Sometimes life asks us to say no even to people we love. And saying no doesn't mean you stop caring. It just means you are caring for yourself too. I finally understood that, and it felt like a small kind of freedom, like stepping out into sunlight after weeks of rain.